Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to Gurukul Online Learning Network. Today I'm instructor Sheikh Mahadi. We're studying Business Organization and Management, Chapter 5, Joint Stock Company. So, our today's topic is importance of company organization. Basically, it's the importance of joint stock company or any kinds of company. So, importance of company organization. We learned before what's a joint stock company. Joint stock company is an artificial personality or an artificial person. Why it's called an artificial person? Because a group of individuals come together with an objective or a goal to earn profit, individual profits for them. Each of them has their own personality. That's why combined together it's called an artificial person or an artificial company, a joint stock. So, importance of a company organization. Limited liability. The liability of the members of company is limited to the contribution of assets up to the face value of shares held by him. Suppose I am a shareholder of a joint stock company. I bought 2 shares of 5 lakh taka. That means my total capital is 10 lakh taka for that company. So, my 2 shares value is 10 lakh taka. Each share is 5 lakh. And I will be taking profit under that 5 lakh taka. And I will also be paying my liability or the debts or the losses towards the company within that 5 lakh taka. If my dividend came to 6 lakh taka and I invested 5 lakh taka, I won't be giving out 6 lakh, I will be giving only 5 lakh. So that is called a limited liability. The amount invested, the amount has to be paid. The amount invested, that's the exact amount of liability or the credibility or the losses that has to be paid towards the company. That's a limited liability. Vast capital. In comparison with organization, the company has more capital because it can collect capital from the shareholders. In comparison with organization. So, which are organizations? Business organizations like the sole proprietorship, it's a business organization. A partnership business, it's an organization. In here, there are limited numbers of people or certain number of people. In sole proprietorship, there is only one freaking man. The amount he is paying, that is the capital. The amount he is taking, that is the liability or the losses. In partnership business, if there are 5 partners or 20 partners, the money they are investing, that is the fixed amount of money they're giving as capital. And when they're taking profits, the fixed amount of profits they're taking. And if it's liability, sometimes it's unlimited, sometimes it's limited. It cannot be determined whether the position of the liability will be. So, vast capital. But a company has more capital because it can collect capital from the shareholders. How? A company sells its shares, which is a small portion of a company. A small ownership portion of the company is called a share. A company releases hundreds and thousands of shares each year to the general public for them to buy. And the people who buys those shares, they are called the shareholders. They are the small owners of that company. They are a small management sector. They own a sector of that company as their own. They are called the shareholders. That's how a company can get more capital by selling their shares. Suppose a company released 100,000 shares, each share of taka 500. So each of 500, 100,000 shares, that means a 5 million taka shares is already released in the market, and if people buys all that 100,000 shares, the company will get and more capital of 5 million taka. So that's how a company increases its capital over time. The more the shares, the more the price of the share, the more the capital is for that company. Scope of large scale production. Company have opportunity of large scale production because of large entity and large amount of capital. Organizations which do not have vast capital or too much amount of money to invest in their products or the raw materials or whatever they are industrializing, they cannot do a large scale production within very limited or certain amount of capital or money or investment. If a sole proprietorship businessman has an amount of 5 lakh taka, he has that only 5 lakh taka. If a partnership business started with 1 crore, they have only 1 crore, not more than that. But if a company decides to make a large scale production, they can easily take out shares from that company and release it to the public within a certain amount of money, given a certain amount of price tag related to that share. If a share is being sold for taka 1 lakh, each share 1 lakh, and they released 100,000 shares or 1,000 shares, that means up to 10 lakhs or 1 million. Sometimes it depends on the number of shares and the price of shares. So the more the shares they release, the more the capital they can take, and the more capital they are gaining, the more production can be taken in process. That's how scope of large scale production is a very advantageous point in case of company businesses. So perpetual succession, we discussed in the previous classes what a perpetual succession is. So let's take a look again. A company does not cease to exist unless it specifically would upon the task which it was formed has been completed. insolvency or death of a member does not affect the existence of a company. So let's begin at the first line. A company does not cease to exist unless it is specifically would up to the task which it was formed has been completed. That means we learned this particular point back in the partnership business, in the partnership classes, when we discussed that a business has its certain time when the business will be dissolved or dissoluted within the members. Sometimes it's not dissoluted, sometimes it is dissoluted. Like every business has its certain period, like 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, 1 year, 5 months, whatever the time period may be. So a company cease to exist means a company just dissolves or dissoluted in its own when its duration time limit is crossed, or it is done, or the task which it was formed for, it is completed. But the death of a member or a shareholder or a company or a director or any other prospect or any other member of that company, any other entity of that company, their death do not affect the company. It does not make the company dissolve or dissoluted entirely. So that's why they said insolvency or death of a member does not affect the existence of the company. Transferability of share. Share in company are freely transferable to certain conditions that no shareholder is permanently or necessarily wedded to the company. Wedded to the company, that's a very fun term. Wedded to the company, it's mean like getting married to the company or being wed to that company, particularly like the boards or the directors or the main CEO or the main owners of the company. They are wedded to the company. The company is theirs. They cannot leave the company with their just own will. But when the company releases the shares, when the people, normal people buys those shares, they become a part or a member or a owner of that company. They are not the permanent owner, they are the temporary owners. When they will sell the shares, their ownership for that company is gone. That's why they said shares are freely transferable to certain conditions that no shareholder is permanently necessarily wedded to the company. They are not the permanent members, they are the temporary members. So when in case they are temporary, they can just sell their shares. That means transfer their shares to some other partners or some other third parties. Like suppose I bought a share of 5 lakh taka, I can sell it to a friend or a colleague to 5 lakh taka or 6 lakh taka. Within that earn my profit. If they buy, that means the share is transferred. That's why it is called transferability of share is very easy in companies. Corporate finance. The share capital of a company is generally divided into large number of share of small value. That means the share capital of a company has its own capital and share capital. Those two are separated, those two are divided into their both particular genres. So share capital and the main initial capital, those are two different sections, and they are divided into large number of share of small value. That means share capital, the share capital was determined to be suppose 10 lakh taka, and they are dividing each share in 1 lakh taka. That means we get 10 shares of 1 lakh taka, which combines 10 lakh taka of share capital. That's called a corporate financing. That means the share of capital is generally divided into large numbers of share of small value. That means the share amount is divided into a large amount of small values for the general public to buy. That's a share. And the people who buy those are called the shareholders. That's easy. Efficient management. The most, but people are working in company organization. That's why the management of company is more efficient than others. Efficient management. The most, but people are working in the company organization. All the people do not take part in the company management. Certain people take part in the company management sectors. The general shareholders, they do take part in decision making, but not always, not with the insights. When the board of directors is sitting or they are having a meeting, that is not the place where those normal shareholders would generally participate. That's why efficient management is a very important or an advantageous sector or a point for the companies. Division of labor is possible in company organization because it has a large number of efficient employees. Division of labor, how is it done? When a company sells its shares, it gets a huge amount of people, it gets a huge amount of share comeback capital, which is a lot of people. The division of labor is not always a bodily exercise, it can be through the mind also. That means brains over bronze, it's a term. Laboring does not mean always to work out with your physical strength. Sometimes it with a psychic strength, with a mental ability or mental stresses. That means the more the people are coming, the more the people are buying shares, the more number of people are increasing. That's why they say has a large number of employees. Division of labor is possible. If the management sector is very huge, the more people we get by selling shares, the more efficient it is to control the management sector at once. So that's why division of labor is very advantageous. Employment opportunity. A large amount of employment is being created by the company organization. A company does not have only its directors, CEOs, owners and shareholders. The company needs to have some labor who will give their brute strength towards the company to work. Suppose a company, we're building up a company, we need to make some buildings or machineries, or we need to wear some feeds. For that we will need people's brute strength. The people who are currently unemployed, they can take part in those kinds of work. That's how employment opportunity is increased and unemployment is decreasing. Development of international relation. Company develops the international relation through the activity of import and export. Import and export goes far back in the business sectors. Importing some kinds of products from some country, we can gain trust, or we can have some mutual confidence or some mutual relationship with those countries. Suppose we just imported, and then after then when we export to other countries, we will build a new relationship with that third kind of country. So if we continue this cycle of import and exports, we will have an international relation vastly throughout the world. It helps a lot in every kind of business, even if it's a company, it's a shareholder, if it's a company business, joint stock business, partnership business, any kinds of business, or even it's a solely import and export business. So that's how international relation helps in every kinds of way. Increasing of national income. Company is the source of large amount of national income. The revenue of government mostly depends on companies. Company is the source of large amount of national income. That means a company contributes the social to the government and to the normal publics, and sometimes even it imports and exports. In case of exporting, foreign currencies are mostly imported into our countries. That means that helps our national income or national reserves to grow even more. That helps the government and the normal social publics. Distribution of risks. The risks are distributed among the members. Each members take risk on the basis of their share. As I said, if a member invests taka 5 lakh, he will take profit of taka 5 lakh and also the liability of taka 5 lakh. That's how the distribution of risk is divided equally among all the general members of the company. I give 5 lakh, I take profits of 5 lakh, I take the liability of 5 lakh. That's how they say take the risk on the basis of their share. The more they invested, that is the amount they are taking their profits and losses or liability according to their investments. 1:1 ratio, all the cases. Research and innovation. Large companies are always investing in research and innovation for the purpose and development of new product. Suppose a company has been selling a product for the past 20 years and now it is getting depleted, it is getting down to the market, and various other companies have started to make that by copying them if they didn't make a patent or a copyright for that. So we need to start to make more products and more suppose we're not making new products, we're not inventing new products, so we need to take a development, we need to research that and make it more developed. We need to upgrade that product to its own level. If we cannot do that, we have to just innovate more products. We have to just make or invent more products just like that. So coordination of efficiency and capital. Lot of expert investors investing the money in business. That is how efficient investor and large amount of capital. So when investing that huge amount of capital, not just anybody comes and throws out their money in the business. Everyone, or most of them, not to be said everyone, there are some fools or dumb, but not everyone. There are some expert investor who has been investing in their business throughout their whole life for the past 5 or 10 or 20 years. From the time they started doing business, they start investing in the shares of every kinds of business. So that's how efficient investors, that means distributions of risk or the employment opportunity or development of international relations, they can give out more concept or ideas for the business formation or the market research or development or innovation. That is the efficient investors one work, and the other one is a large amount of capital. The more the people buy the shares, the more the amount of capital is. So today we learned only the importance of the company organizations. If you have any kinds of questions or comments regarding this lesson, please let us know down in the comment box below, and be with Gurukul. Thank you.